Hi guys, my name is Emma and let's talk spooky stuff. Today I'm going to do a Q&A. I don't do these very often and I asked you guys if you would enjoy it and a lot of you guys said you were into it. So we're going to get into it. The last one I did of this was when I tried this, which is still sitting here as an experiment to see if they ever go like rotten. So far there's a couple hairs in there, but all good. So I opened my Facebook and my Twitter to any of your questions and I'm going to try and answer the ones I haven't answered before. As I said, I did a Q&A earlier this year, I think in February, and I did a Q&A maybe last year and then maybe the year before. I've only done a couple, but I saw a lot of your questions I've already answered, so I'm gonna try and answer a few different ones. Let's get into it. And before we get into it, I just want to say a huge thank you. I'm about to hit 17K. I almost said 7K because 17 is pretty insane for me. And I know I'm a small channel and I feel like some people get like butthurt when I express how grateful and how proud I am of myself for doing this. Because I know people who have like 40, 50, 60 and they're like, chill out. But I love you guys and I really do think that I have one of the best audiences online. Whenever I get hate or like random just trolls, they are random and I love that and I really appreciate all of you guys commenting down below. Like I just love it. You guys are the best and I wanted to thank you guys so much. And I'm sorry I haven't really addressed my growth in the last couple of months. It's just been crazy. I grew I think nearly 2K last month. So I wanted to take the time to thank you before we got into this. But let's go. Let's start on Twitter. Just so you guys know, I haven't written down these answers. I'm just reading them straight from here. So if my answers are bad, I'm sorry. But I wanted to be authentic and I think it's fun if I'm authentic about it. Stephanie Edwards asks, if you could remake one horror film or be in charge of a sequel for a horror film, which one would you choose and why? And what creative decisions would you make to differ from the original? Or, alternatively, which non-horror film would you love to reimagine as a horror? I like the second one just because sequels can be really tricky and if I can't even produce my own film, what makes you think I can do a sequel? I love you, but you put a lot of faith in me there. I like the question about turning a non-horror film into a horror. You know what I think of? Spirited Away. Just because, if you guys know Radical Face, it's a band and it's this guy, he sings this album that is called Ghost and it's one of my favorite albums of all time and it's kind of the same feeling as Spooky Astronaut's the name and A Ghost Story, the romantic kind of version of a ghost. And anyway, in this album, I imagine how I would make it into a movie all the time. I think it would make the sickest movie about, you know, spirits being trapped in a house and how it's more beautiful than like scary. And I like Spirited Away for the fact, if you guys don't know Spirited Away, Studio Ghibli, huge fan, I actually have Ponyo tattooed on me, but Spirited Away is so interesting in the fact that it is kind of a creepy ass story and if I saw it as a kid, I would freak out. So I think that as a horror movie would be really creepy. It's kind of like if you've seen Low. Low is a movie about a demon that is like, kind of like a musical comedy, but it's really romantic and sad. And I like that kind of play. If they merged together in a way, it was kind of the same feeling where it was like a sad story about a ghost. Yeah. That's a lot of information. I hope that answered the question. I mean, there's so many movies I would love to redo as horror movies, but I think that would be cool. I think it's cool to really fuck with the genre. Don't go for thriller, you go for something that's way different, like a kid's movie. The Horror Mizza, who is a supporter of mine for a long time and has his own YouTube channel. Hi, how you going? Thank you so much for supporting me. He asks, and I'm gonna paraphrase this because I think he's missed a couple of words. Did you read that article in Vogue about how horror movies haven't been the same since 2017? If so, what would you say to the writer? If you guys don't know about this, there was an article that Vogue put out, of all fucking places, saying that 2018 was like the worst year in horror. Vicky, my friend Nightmare Maven, did an amazing response to this, or reaction. You need to check that out if you haven't. I'll link her video down below. But what would I say to that? Like, what are you smoking? It's making you a little bit paranoid. I mean, obviously I don't agree with that at all. We got Upgrade, man. Did you watch Upgrade? Like, get out. Get out. I feel like a lot of people are so easy to rag on modern horror, and obviously I love modern horror. I love my classics, but I love modern horror. And there's so many years that you don't even realize how many horror movies came out. I mean, why am I explaining this? You guys know this, but it's just one of those things where people are just ignorant, I think. I think that person's ignorant, and I think I wouldn't say anything to the writer because who knows if they pitched the idea. That's my question is, did you pitch the idea? Did Vogue ask you? Like, that is kind of where the confusion is for me. Also, Vogue, shut the fuck up. Get back to your clothes, back to selling fast fashion or whatever, like 12 seasons in a year, and leave the horror chatter to some people who actually are passionate about it. Craig asks, when am I coming back to Scotland? Craig, I would go back to Scotland in a heartbeat if I had the money and I had the leave off work. I had, you know, I could afford that. I'd be there right now. I really want to go to America, obviously, guys. I really want to go to Japan. Those are the two next things on my list. And dollar bills, you know? Next time, hopefully in a couple of years is my answer. Jared asked me, what has been my worst experience in the movie theater that didn't have to do with the movie itself? I probably answered this when I went and saw Hereditary. I had a pretty bad experience. I had 3 phones went off, like 2 went off and 1 played a video. People were laughing. It was a bad experience for a lot of people, and it took me going back to kind of, you know, get really my full score on that movie, but it's really sad because that's one of those films that you need to see and need to have the full effect the first time. So I would definitely say that's up there. Guest head Steve, hi Steve, said, I'm stupidly in love with 1980s horror films. Which is your favorite part in an 80s horror? Well, if you watch my 31 Days of Horror, you'll know that I'm a new fan of Intruder. If you haven't seen Intruder, that blew my mind. I don't know why people don't talk about that film. So that whole movie, there's not really a part. I just really like that movie. It's one of my favorite 80s like slashers now. But I guess I'm gonna have to go with like 1989 Pet Sematary, which is my favorite, one of my favorite. I don't know if you can see, I have like a little Pet Sematary thing up there. One of my favorite movies of all time. And when people ask me what my favorite horror movie is, I normally do say Pet Sematary. My favorite part in it? I mean, Zelda, right? How fucking terrifying is she? It's just the haunting of the dreams of your life, and I love that. Dark Horse Dumpling, hi. Someone who actually talks to me on Instagram all the time, says, you are amazing at creating videos. Thank you. How long did it take you to get where you are, and do you have any tips for those of us who aren't fluent with editing and structure? This is something I think I have answered before, not the exact same question, but about making YouTube videos. And if you guys do want a video completely on that, I'm happy to do that for you. If you guys don't know more about me, I am an editor by nature, by career. So I went to film school and I did all the training and editing. I work as a full-time job as like a videographer, and then I come home and I edit. So I'm editing non-stop all the time. I never go a day in my life, except for when I was on holidays, without opening Adobe Premiere. I guess my #1 tip as an editor is get good editing software. There's no point in training yourself to use something that isn't user-friendly. You're just making it harder for yourself and that you can't grow on. Obviously, Adobe is really expensive. It's 60 bucks a month in Australia. That includes all of the Adobe Cloud apps. So you get, you know, Photoshop, Premiere, and After Effects, which are the ones I use the most. I use Lightroom a lot for my photography, but I do really recommend investing in a good editing suite. But if you can't, I totally understand, and you know, Movie Maker gets the job done still, but you just can't use shortcuts. Shortcuts are #1 in editing. I could talk about editing all day, but shortcuts are #1. Get shortcuts that you're familiar with and use them, and your editing will be like 60 times faster. I also edit everything in double speed, so that means I play it like back twice as fast, and I make all the cuts. I cut everything out I don't like, I sync it all up, and then I take breaths out of it so you can see the waveforms when I go and so I cut them out. So there's a lot to it. It's hard for me to give you some tips without going right into it, as you can see. So if you want a full video on that, I'm happy to make it. I do recommend getting Skillshare, and this is not sponsored, but I use Skillshare all the time. and that is, I think you get 2 months free when you first sign up, so you can just do 2 months free and then cancel it, and they have a lot of tutorials and just real people from the industry teaching you things, and I think that that would be a good place to learn how to edit. With creating videos and structure, I think you just really need to find your own way. Like I said, I can make a video for you guys so I can give you a structure to start with. I'm happy to do that, but it was a lot of trial and error. Like if you watch my first video, I'm like, excuse me, can I talk to you about a movie? And now I'm very comfortable. I feel like I'm talking to you guys, you know? I don't feel like I'm actually sitting here in a room alone, which I am. I feel like I'm actually talking to you guys. So it's just getting comfortable in front of the camera, and a lot of people say it's just a lot of practice, and that is true. Not helpful, but it's true. Now over to Facebook. Callum asked a really good question. He says, what horror franchise do you have no desire to watch, and which horror franchise do you know you need to watch yet still haven't had the chance yet? I don't think I've not had the chance yet to watch any new horror franchises. TV shows, definitely. I haven't watched The Purge. Haven't watched Scream Queen Season 2. I haven't watched Channel Zero. I haven't watched the new American Horror Story or even the last season. There's so many that I haven't had a chance to watch. But franchises, I normally jump straight onto a movie straight away. I can tell you a series that I don't have any desire to watch, but I've been forced to watch one of them. Underworld, not a fan. I mean, I'm not a fan of action, so it's not hard, but not a fan, and have no desire to follow up. I don't even know which one I've watched. I think it's silly. But that's my humble opinion, right? Ryan asked, what's the best horror decade since the 70s? I think 80s have had the best overall variety of horror. You know what I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna get a bunch of hate for it, but the 90s, I love the 90s. But that's like a personal opinion. I'd have to go with the 80s as well, just because you're right, there's such a variety from the start of the 80s to the very end. Where it ended up was so different to where the 80s started. Chris asks a really good question. In film, why is red and green never seen? And he says, Shape of Water left me with a lot of questions, and I want to see the Creature from the Black Lagoon remade. I would like to see that too. It would be interesting to see if they had that set in the 50s or modern times. That's the question. For the red and green should never be seen. That is not a film rule. It's like an art rule in general, and I believe it comes from a quote, but it just doesn't look good. And I think it reminds a lot of people of Christmas nowadays, but I totally agree with that. It's just an art rule, really. It's just like the rule of thirds, but it is a great question. Good on you. Sapphire asks, how do I get into the horror genre? I've covered that before, but then you went on to ask, since making your channel, what have been some of the best and / better times for you? / have you had ups and downs / problems since starting your channel, or how long has your channel been about for? I've been about for nearly 4 years. Yeah, I've been up and down, but I don't think it's ever got to do with my channel. It's just like the stress of, you know, getting everything done and wanting to succeed on this platform. And when I say succeed, it doesn't mean I want to be like rich and famous. It means I would love to do this full time. End of story. Yeah, I guess, I mean, I haven't really had downs. I've had slow months, but I don't really ever see it as a down because I've always kind of progressed. I've been lucky in that way. Better times, definitely. When I jump onto a trend and I don't even know it, like when I did Veronica, I didn't know that film was gonna go nuts, and I just did a review about it, and that was insane. I got like over 100,000 views on a video, which I normally get like 1,000, but that was pretty unexpected. When it is good, it's normally just a bonus for me, but what I really like is interacting with you guys and creating a community where everyone feels included. That's important to me. Samuel has written the funniest question. Do you like mandarins? Yes? No? Prefer oranges? I like grapefruits. Right now I eat grapefruit like every morning. So that's how I stand with that. And I'm gonna take my last question from Emma, who says, what kind of music do you listen to? Any recommendations? I have answered this before, but I'll say quickly. Right now I'm listening to a lot of classical music because it's very soothing. But I do listen to a lot of Spotify lists that are like sing out loud in the car lists. I love 90s, anything to do with 90s I love, you guys know that. Especially there's like a list that's like 90s women, and I love that. But for artists, I love Sigur Rós. My favorite band is Radiohead. I like Arcade Fire. I love Kanye West. I'm sorry, I do. You guys know this. I love Kanye West and I'm not sorry about it. Sorry, not sorry. I hope you guys enjoyed this and it was mildly interesting for you. If you would like to see a video where I talk about how to make horror reviews, or I'm not sure what you guys would like to see from me, so let me know down below in particular videos about, you know, making YouTube videos. That would be helpful for you because I don't want to make something unless it's really helpful for you guys. So let me know that down below and if you would find it helpful. If you don't find it helpful, also let me know, because otherwise it's just people saying yes, 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 and I don't know some of you guys who wouldn't like it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and don't worry, I don't make these all the time. Back to regular viewing on Monday, and there will be a rant up. I want to thank you guys again for 17K. If I haven't hit it yet, I'm about to, and I love you guys so much. And I have so much cool stuff coming up for you guys. I can't wait. Some of the videos I'm working on are pretty fun, pretty different, and I know you guys are gonna love it. So if you haven't subscribed, now is the time. Hit the button, and I'll talk to you guys very soon. Stay spooky. Bye.